Okay, so we're looking at IELTS Task 2 essay, and it's to what extent do you agree or disagree style. So it's argumentative. So we're looking for a strong opinion and a thesis statement. So let's look at the topic. Some believe that people should not continue to work once they reach the age of retirement. Do you agree or disagree? Give reasons for your answer and include relevant examples from your experience. Okay, so this is a key part of the question that some people forget to include. Okay, now including relevant examples, remember, you can always lie. Okay, the examiner for IELTS doesn't know your life really, so it's totally possible for you to come and make up some examples. So it's giving reasons for your answer. Okay, so you don't need to show both sides of the argument. It doesn't need to be biased. Okay, so your essay should go introduction, okay, reason 1, reason 2, okay, and then conclusion. Okay, so introduction should be, I believe that people who reach the age of retirement should not continue to work. My first reason is that, explain. My second reason is that, explain. And then conclusion, okay? Overall, I think it's very important for people to retire when they reach the age of retirement in order to create more opportunities for the future generations, whatever it is, okay? So let's take a look and see what this candidate's done. So let's look at the introduction. Okay, first thing I'm thinking when I look at this introduction, it looks too short. It's just one sentence. Ideally, your introduction should have 2 sentences. For me personally, I think an introduction needs 2 sentences. 1, you paraphrase the question, okay? And then secondly, you give your thesis statement. Okay, your thesis statement is where you give your opinion, okay? And then the strongest essays will also give what was known as, we call your subtopics, okay? Where you let me know what are you going to be talking about, okay? And not specifically in detail, but just generally. So let's look at this candidate. Although there is an argument that people who reach the age of retirement should not maintain their career, I strongly disagree with this view for several reasons. Okay, so we do have an opinion. I strongly disagree. Okay, so that's good. I've got an opinion. Here, people who reach the age of retirement, we haven't really paraphrased this, reach the age of retirement. We could swap the words around to paraphrase it better. There is an argument that retirement age people or people of retirement age. Okay. So just by changing around the order of the words, okay, you can show your grammatical skill, you can show your vocabulary skill, and you can also paraphrase a bit better. So that would be my thought. So I mean, they have repeated the question, they have given an opinion. I would always rather say that for several reasons. I would always prefer to be rather specific due to issues of, you could say, job security or workplace safety. Okay, and then that would be a much stronger introduction, because then you've told me the 2 topics that we're going to talk about in the rest of the essay. So let's see their first paragraph. Some people believe that elder workers, so it's elderly workers should retire in order to provide chances for the young generation to get their jobs. There is no doubt that in this era of modernization, the job market is increasingly becoming competitive. Okay, so increasingly is modifying competitive, okay? Is becoming increasingly competitive due to the imbalance between the number of young job seekers and the number of opportunities to work. They assume that the solution for this problem is the retirement of workers who have continued to work for a prolonged time. I actually like this phrase, prolonged time. I think that's a very nice phrase that they use there. So my issue here is that this isn't one of the reasons that they believe in. They're giving the other side of the argument. Now, in this type of essay, you don't actually need to give the opposite view. You can just give your two reasons. So I would rather that they started the sentence with, even though some people believe, blah, 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 or it is true that some people believe, okay, and then give your counter argument. So then you switch. However, it is, however, so you want to give an example. However, a study by UCL found that young people entering the workforce in 2022 did not want to join the same career paths and companies as those retiring in 2022. Therefore, retirement will not solve this problem. Okay, so can you see how then you've counter-argued? You said, although some people believe this, however, okay, and then you're going to give the counter-argument to that, okay, and you're going to explain why you disagree with that, and that is a much stronger support of your argument here, your thesis statement. Okay? Otherwise, it's confusing for me as a reader to read an essay that goes, I strongly disagree with this view for several reasons. Some people believe that, and so you're giving the opposite view. So in this type of essay, agree or disagree, you're just giving reasons why you agree or disagree with some examples. Of course, if the pattern is give both sides and then explain your point of view, of course you have to give both sides. But in this type of essay, you don't need to. And that's a mistake a lot of people make. So that would, to me, that this would make their task achievement stronger. Okay, so then we switched to their point. In spite of this point of view, I like this nice linking word, I feel that this measure is inappropriate and it can cause another social problem. And then another social problem, meaning just one, okay? But then we've got firstly, and then I think we're going to go on to give a secondly. So it's not just one, so it's inappropriate and it can cause more social problems, okay? Because then when you say firstly, obviously that's firstly, it's going to be one of a list, right? Firstly, secondly, thirdly, fourthly. So if we say another social problem, you don't need to say firstly because there's only one. So you don't need to tell me it's first. But we're going to obviously list a couple. So it should be, and it can cause more social problems. Firstly, it is a clear fact that the average life expectancy of people is becoming longer with, so this should be averaging, I can't spell averaging, averaging, maybe, I'm not sure how to spell it, together, averaging about 100 years. Thus, if workers who reach the age lose their earnings because of forced retirement, they cannot maintain their living standards for the remaining 40 years of their lives. Okay, so this phrase here where this candidate is written, cannot live their ordinary lives. They cannot live. So it just means they're just going to die. That's not necessarily true, right? They're probably going to stay alive, but just not with enough money. So that's what we say. They cannot maintain, so keep, their living standards. So a living standard is like sort of maintaining a comfortable life. So if I want to maintain my living standard, it's having enough money to pay my rent, and to maybe once a week go to a Starbucks or to buy new clothes when I need them. Not like luxury, but just keep living a comfortable, like ordinary life. So they cannot maintain their living standards for the remaining 40 years of their lives. Okay, it's a very good point. Therefore, society, we would never say the society, right? 'Cause it's not countable. Therefore, society should find other ways to control a tight market rather than make them the jobless, rather than make them unemployed. Okay, unemployed is more specific to the situation rather than just say the jobless. I think the argument here is good. We've got a couple of issues with grammar, and I'm just a bit confused about the paragraphing because we've got a firstly here, and then I'm not sure what's going to come next. So let's take a look. Okay, furthermore, I do predict, when you say I predict that the problem of excessive competition in the job market will improve in the future because it has been, okay, so if it's not current, it started in the past, okay, because it has been proved from numerous relevant research, we never turn research into plural, so my research, your research, all the research, it's always like that. Numerous relevant research that the young population will decrease owing to recent declining birth rates. Okay, then we want to support this with an example. Okay, so remember, right at the start of the question, they're asking you to include relevant examples. This candidate hasn't given me any relevant examples so far. So give me an example of the research. Okay, and I always just make it up. Use whatever university you want to. A professor at Seoul National University found that. Okay, and then give me some more examples, okay? And then in conclusion, I am of the opinion that society should ensure elderly workers or older workers have opportunities to retain their jobs for their remaining lives, for as long as they can perform them. For the reasons I mentioned above. Okay, so for as long as they can do the job, they should be allowed to keep the job. So I think this is interesting. We have got two reasons why he thinks that, or why she thinks, or why they think old people should be allowed to keep their jobs. But my issue is that they've not expanded them. They've not explained them enough, okay? So when I talk about they need to explain more, I mean using examples, I mean showing links. Okay, I say think showing cause and effect. Okay, if we force them to give up their jobs, we're losing experience in the workplace, or due to the declining birth rate, as a consequence, fewer workers are entering the job market. Therefore, it's not necessary for old people to give up their jobs because there isn't anyone to replace them. Okay, so using cause and effect linking language. Therefore, as a consequence, so due to, okay, so I want to see more of that, more examples. We've just got two short things here, so that's what I'm thinking about in terms of the task achievement, whether it's been fully explained, their reasons, because they spent time on that first paragraph giving the counterpoint, which they didn't really need to do. So I think overall task achievement, but I would want to give them a 6 because they have got some sort of logical, relevant ideas. Coherence. They had good linking phrases that I liked. They did have paragraphs, and the paragraphs were a little bit short, so the essay felt uneven. So their first paragraph was quite long, and then we sort of had shorter and shorter paragraphs until their conclusion. But they did have a conclusion, they did have an introduction, so I'd probably sort of maybe give around a 6. Vocabulary, I thought their vocabulary was okay, but could have done better. And there was quite a few issues with this, kept saying elder workers rather than elderly or older workers. So I would probably give 5.5 for vocabulary. And then grammar, there was some sort of consistent small mistakes throughout, which I think they just need to be a bit careful of, especially these determiners. I think this candidate needs to go in and check that. but maybe still overall 6. I do think overall this is a 6.0 essay. I mean, the vocabulary and grammar, we could sort of debate a bit about which one was a 5.5 and which one was a 6.0, but I think overall 6.0 is roughly where this candidate's coming out at. And I would just definitely go back through for this person and check their small grammar issues, and also think a little bit more at the vocabulary formation, about being able to know when you're using a noun, when you're using a verb, when you're using an adverb, and so on. Like, can they change the words appropriately for the sentence? Because I think that was an issue this candidate had. But overall, a pretty reasonable essay.